The senior shoved my daughter out of the lunch line and laughed in her face. He thought she was just some powerless freshman he could push around. What he didn't realize was that her older brother, his own teammate, was waiting for him in the locker room, and the lesson that came next. Let's just say he'll never forget what a linebacker can do. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reddit Revenge Stories, where karma comes dressed in shoulder pads and a football helmet today. If you've ever wanted to see poetic justice play out perfectly, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment "Justice served" down below. Because today's story isn't about violence. It's about respect, restraint, and one brother's clever revenge that hit harder than any tackle. It started like any other weekday dinner. We were sitting around the table. Me, my husband, and our 2 kids, just catching up about school. You know that warm, familiar chaos of family dinners, forks clinking, casual teasing, someone talking with their mouth full. That night, my daughter, a quiet, bookish high school freshman, looked unusually tense. When I asked how her day went, she hesitated for a second before saying softly, "Some senior shoved me in the lunch line today." I froze. Wait, what? She explained that she'd been waiting for her turn when this senior, tall, broad, and wearing his football team jacket, just shoved her aside and cut in front. When she told him, "What do you think this is, elementary school? Really mature of you," he turned around, smirked, and said, "I don't give a shit." That's when I saw it. The mixture of embarrassment and anger in her eyes. She's not the kind of kid who cries easily, but she was shaking, trying to laugh it off like it didn't bother her. But it did. She said she noticed the football jacket, but decided not to say anything. She didn't want to make it worse. My husband frowned, but before I could say anything, my son, a junior linebacker on the same team, leaned forward, eyes narrowing. What'd he look like? My daughter hesitated, then gave him a description, and I swear the corner of his mouth curled up in this calm, confident way. He just nodded and said, "Don't worry about it. I'll handle it." Now, you have to understand, my son isn't the aggressive type. He's protective, sure, but he's the kind of kid who believes in handling things the right way. Still, I could tell something was brewing behind that calm face. I spent the rest of the night wondering what handle it meant. The next day, at dinner, I couldn't help myself. How was school today?" My daughter sighed. Same guy. This time in the library, he knocked my books off the table and said, "Oops, my bad." Before I could even react, my son cut in, "Yeah, I saw." And he went on to explain that during football practice later that afternoon, he decided it was time for a little conversation. In the locker room, as everyone was changing for practice, my son walked straight up to him. He said calmly, "Hey, I heard you've been picking on a freshman." But the senior barely looked up. What's it to you?" And that's when my son dropped the hammer. "She's my little sister." He said the guy's face instantly went pale as a ghost. 7 inches shorter, way leaner, and suddenly very, very aware of who he'd been messing with. You gonna teach me a lesson or something?" The senior tried to joke. My son smiled. Nah, let's just play some football." Now this is where poetic justice comes in. During practice, the senior played slot receiver, meaning he'd be running right into my son's zone over and over again. And my son, he's one of the best linebackers on the team. Fast, smart, and patient. He didn't rush into anything. He didn't say a word. He just waited and let the game do the talking. The first pass came. The senior caught it, or tried to. My son came in like a freight train, clean, legal tackle, textbook perfect, and the ball went flying, fumble. My son recovered it. The coach blew the whistle. "Let's run it again." Second pass. Same thing. The senior fumbled again, panic in his movements. My son scooped it up, cool, collected, professional. By the 4th time, even the other players started glancing at each other. The coach barked, "Stop being so easily distracted. Get your head in the game." But everyone knew that wasn't distraction. That was fear. Every time the senior saw my son lining up across from him, he flinched. Because now he understood this wasn't about revenge through violence. It was about dominance through skill. My son didn't need to throw a punch or shout. He let every hit remind that guy exactly who he'd messed with. By the end of practice, the senior was exhausted. He finally walked up to my son, sweating and panting, and said, "You done teaching me a lesson?" My son, just smiled, wiped his hands on his towel, and said yeah, the lesson is, be ready for what any linebacker will do on the field. I was just being professional today, but next time you decide to mess with my sister, I'll let the coach know exactly how you treat freshmen. Especially the girls. The senior didn't say another word, just nodded. Quietly the next day, my daughter came home from school with a surprised smile. Apparently, she'd seen the same senior again, this time in the lunch line. Only this time he didn't shove anyone. He turned to her, tray in hand, and said, "Hey, I'm sorry about before. Let me buy your lunch to make up for it." My daughter, polite as ever, just said, "I'm good. I can buy my own lunch." She didn't need him to pay for anything. She'd already won. Because respect, once earned, can't be bought with a sandwich. Later, my son told me that practice had been normal that day. No tension, no attitude. Just football. The senior had learned his lesson, quietly, permanently. I couldn't have been prouder. Not because my son got revenge, but because he understood something deeper. That real strength isn't about hurting someone. It's about setting boundaries with integrity. He didn't need to embarrass the guy or start a fight. He just showed him, through calm action, what respect looks like and how easily it can be lost. So tell me in the comments, what would you have done if someone bullied your sibling? Was my son too calm, or was that the perfect dose of poetic justice? If you love this story of karma hitting hard but fair, make sure to like, subscribe, and tap that bell so you don't miss the next act of justice served cold. Until next time, remember, sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply playing by the rules better than your enemy ever could.